Okay, hello everyone. We would like to start the session of Thursday gathering, which is already like 153 times today. And then the session from 5 p.m. is Startups for a Sustainable Future Perspective from Germany and Japan. I would like to pass it to Johannes, who is currently being a bridge between Germany and Japan. Johannes, the stage is all yours.
Thank you, Lisa. So, hello everyone, and thank you for joining us. We are Johannes and Noriko from Japamburg, and are very happy to offer our first session at the Venture Café Tokyo Thursday Gathering. Japamburg is located in Hamburg, Germany, and aims to build new connections between Germany and Japan. More on that from Noriko in a minute. In today's session, we will look at the diverse issues that Germany and Japan are facing in the broad field of sustainability. Both countries were among those that signed the Paris Agreement, but despite this fact, governments and large corporations in both countries still struggle to push for an earnest change in the way our countries stride towards the future. With near identical Country Overshoot Days in Germany and Japan at the beginning of May, it is clear that there's still much to do. Today, we have organized a session that will showcase a few of the many startups in both countries that are taking up exactly this challenge to create a sustainable future.
Yeah, we see, am I allowed? Yeah. We see great opportunities for Europe and Japan as there's a huge potential bridging Germany and Japanese businesses, and it's our heartfelt passion as well. To Japan, Germany has been the door into Europe when setting foot in Europe, and we Hamburgers call Hamburg das Tor zur Welt, translated the gate to the world. So I'd say we are rather welcoming. To German businesses, Japan offers a large and stable market with high consumption and consumer interaction that is very attractive to new products and services. Germany and Japan have just been nominated the #1 and #2 most relevant for entrepreneurship by the annual US News and World Report Best Countries ranking. Our innovative and interactive community offers regular events and content to promote our members to kickstart their businesses and projects between both countries. Together as a community, we want to grow and inspire one another, and we are aiming to have such informal networking events 6 to 8 times a year, featuring inspiring international speakers, and we will develop additional formats in the future. Additionally, we really want to establish Japamburg as a channel to place information relevant for you. Also, we aim that this group works both ways and attract Japanese entrepreneurs, startups, and small to middle-sized enterprises as well. We want to lay grounds for fruitful conversations and hope that Japamburg will play an important role in promoting German-Japanese business relations as we grow and create a lively community together. And of course, we are relying on your support and ideas to make this a continuous inspiring exchange.
Today, we have invited inspiring speakers from startups from Japan and Germany to showcase the diverse issues in sustainability that both countries are facing. We wanted to have 4 startups in this session, but very sadly, we have to tell you that one of our German startups had to decline this morning because they had a family emergency case. So we will only have 3 startups, which will leave us with more time to discuss after the presentations. So we will start with the startup presentations, have a panel discussion afterwards, and in the end, we will move to the Venture Café Tokyo platform for networking and open discussion if you want to join us after the session. So
maybe if you could mute yourselves, that would be really nice. So as I said already, we are growing. We are just a new community, and it's also just our second event where we really bilingually, or where we actually have involved the Japanese part as well, because we are at a Japanese friendly time. Usually we take place at evenings in German timing. So in order to grow this community together and have a lively exchange, we would love for you to join our meetup group, to join our LinkedIn groups as well. And if you have any speaker suggestions, or if you want to speak on one of our events as well, we're really happy for any contact. We're also having one of our next meetups will be focusing on food and beverage startups. So if you know of anyone that should be talking and should be seen and should have a reach as well, we're really, really happy for any suggestions. But today we will focus on one of my favorite subjects, is sustainability. And I'm very happy to introduce our 3 or 4 great speakers today.
Okay, so our first startup today is Ecolocal, which has been founded by Hélène and Noriko in 2020. With backgrounds in banking and luxury beauty, both come from industries that one would usually not associate with sustainable business practices. So what made them decide to found their own company and empower individuals, local communities, and small businesses through sustainable living? Let's hear from them. So Hélène and Noriko, the stage is yours.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and good day for those of you in Germany. So let me share my screen. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. So as you were saying, I'm Hélène. I'm an eco-consultant and the co-founder of Ecolocal. But before that, I was working as a packaging development manager for cosmetics for 8 years in the UK. And actually, when I arrived in Japan 2.5 years ago, I wanted to change my lifestyle and my career. And as I was on that journey, the things I noticed is when I was going to my local supermarkets, it was very challenging for me to follow that, lifestyle I wanted to have. There was plastic everywhere. It was quite challenging for me to find organic products and so on. And why do you say is it important? And I wanted to share that fact with you, which is that just in Japan, every year, there are like 9.4 million tons of plastic waste. So that's quite huge, actually. So on my journey, I was able to find some solutions for myself. And this involved me connecting with my local businesses, like the rice store, miso store, and because these businesses were much more flexible with my needs and working directly with smaller producers, and so they were much more, having like sustainable practices, even though not always realizing it. So on my journey as an eco-consultant, I was lucky to meet Noriko because she was a guest on my podcast last year. And that's kind of how we met and all that said the beginning of Ecolocal started. And I'm going to let her introduce herself.
Hi, thank you. My name is Noriko or Nori. I'm co-founder of Ecolocal, and I'm the banker, the one that started my career in finance. I'm still dual hatting, so my other job as of now is working for a large tech company that everyone knows that starts with the letter A, at the same time working on Ecolocal. And a little bit about me is I'm actually vegan myself. Thank you, Hélène. Next slide. I'm vegan myself. And the reason that, or sort of the way that I got there is first out of curiosity, but then as I continued to be vegan, I realized the impacts of eating animals on all parts of our life, including the environment. And this is just one fact and one impact of eating beef. This is like 120 or 200 tubs of full bathtubs. That's how many liters is required. So like I said, I'm vegan, but I realized that that's a concept that was alien to Japan when I came back in 2018. And so I started a website called Vegino, which is how I became a guest speaker on Hélène's podcast. And there, primarily, I only promote the plant-based eating and kind of leave out the animal aspects. But myself, I'm vegan. Thank you. And then I'd like to go on to explain Ecolocal. So after we met through Hélène's podcast, we discussed, let's solve issues more on a wider sustainability topic. And we usually did a survey to ask customers, people, why they would not make eco-friendly choices in their day-to-day. And the top 3 reasons are what you see here. It's inconvenient, it's expensive, or there's often not a lot of information surrounding making better choices. The other thing that came up in the survey, although not in the top 3, was the fact that if you make eco-friendly choices, you're often sort of lonely, either in your family or in your cohort of friends. And so we thought, hey, we should come up with a solution that addresses these pain points. And so our mission is to make sustainability more accessible in the sense of convenience and whatnot, but also in the sense of making it more fun and connecting people so that it's accessible and sustainable to be more sustainable. So what do we do? On the left side, you see our first and main project, which is our eco map. We are mapping out the stores right now in Japan. We'll go into more of that later. And on the right side, you see the fruits of the beginnings of our community. Like we said, we're trying to address that people feel lonely if they are eco-friendly. What do we have on the map? We focus on food, where you can get your food, and we categorize sustainability in the realms of food with these 5 categories. So if and when a store fits this category, we put that in. For example, Helen's solution of the miso store, that if you can walk in with your Tupperware, walk out with your Tupperware full of miso, then that would be considered a zero waste store. For our community, we have a diverse range of people, passionate people. They're primarily living in Japan, some are not, but all of them, as you can see from the photo, is just multinational. There's a diverse range of characters as well as what we like to define as sustainability journey. So where they're at in terms of, did they start today or did they start 10 years ago, starting to be, a little bit more conscious and friendly for the planet. So that's kind of our current community, which we really love. And then I'll pass it to Hélène for what we've done so far.
Yes. So what we've done so far is activating our community, trying to encourage people to take action by doing a lot of events. So we do, for example, eco chaperons, where we break the barriers of people making the move, to use their container, for example, or to ask the stores for specific things, because sometimes that's something that can be challenging in Japan, because you have to stick out in a way. We are also doing events around cooking, especially plant-based, because we want to show people that plant-based can be delicious and easy, even in Japan. And that's the kind of activity we focus for our community. Some other activities are more around education, trying to bring more clarity about climate change in Japan and what that means. We were lucky to be featured recently, by the way, on Japanese TV, so we are very glad. In terms of the business model, there's 2 different segments we are currently targeting. One is the business, the store owners, with the platform, through the platform membership, and they can have access to a different array of services. And one of them we are testing and exploring at the moment is a circular bento box, to try again to reduce plastic waste in Japan. And the second segment we are addressing is companies. So trying to bring more awareness about, environmental issues in Japan, and trying to educate, their employees, in a positive way, because some of the companies, they know that there's a problem with the environment, they know about the SDGs, but sometimes they don't really know what to do about that and what to share with their employee or to engage them. And that's where we come in to make it a positive experience and inspiring experience. So that's kind of our journey. And what is very important for us to mention is that what we want to do is to encourage everybody to take action. There's no little action, because you might be doing something, just yourself, but actually you might be inspiring others. So for us, it's very important to share inspiration and encourage people to act from a positive angle. And so if you're interested in what we do, don't hesitate to reach out to us on LinkedIn and also follow us on social media. We have like the QR codes. And if you want to check out our website, so for now it's just a website, but we are working on an app version in the coming months. Feel free to check it out. Thank you very much.
Sorry, I have to unmute myself. Great. I have the pleasure to introduce Joanna from Lignopure. I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Joanna. You will probably do this later so we know how to pronounce it. So Joanna is the founder and CEO of Lignopure, a Hamburg-based startup working on the upcycling of lignin, a byproduct of ethanol biorefineries, and the pulp and paper industry. The startup is pioneering in the use of lignin in care products and bio-based high-performance materials. With their products and activities, the team wants to make a contribution to accelerate the transition towards a bio-based and circular economy by replacing oil-based materials.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the invitation and also for the introduction, Mariko. I will now share my screen. Yeah, so hello everybody. My name is Joanna. As Mariko mentioned, I am the founder and CEO of the company Lignopure, and we offer quality lignin for high value products. I'm very happy that our colleagues here at EcoLocal were mentioning already the problematic that is very well known about the plastic waste and microplastic, and how, of course, the best way is to avoid alternatives, but also when there are some industries and some people that cannot avoid the use of plastic, our aim is to offer sustainable, plant-based and high-performance ingredients that are not only good for our health, but also for the environment. Our product is lignin. So maybe you did not hear before about lignin. Lignin is a brown powder. It looks like this. It looks like the picture that you have there. And it's very much unknown, but it's the second most abundant biopolymer on Earth. And lignin is a byproduct of the pulp and paper industry, is a byproduct of biorefineries, and is currently being produced at 100 million tons a year. It is renewable and it has no competition, for example, with food sources. Although you might think, okay, there is a biopolymer, it presents some functionalities, it is produced at these amounts per year, what the industry is doing right now is burning it for the production of energy. And it is pretty much 95 to 98% of this lignin is underutilized, or at least this burning for energy production is what we call underutilization. And what we do in Lignopure is we transform this lignin into tailored particles or tailored powder that can be drop-in solutions for industry and can be readily utilized in product formulation, for instance, in some blockers. I will come to that later. What we did, so the founders were actually PhDs, so we're very technical based founders in our startup, and we developed and patented our technology during our studies that actually enables us to take these residues from the industry and tailor the properties of the lignin, or basically produce the material in the way that the industry is needed. The lignin in nature, when it is in the plant, it provides a stability to the plants, to the trees. It provides antibacterial capacity. It provides a structure and also protects the plant against the UV rays, or it acts basically as a sun blocker of the plants. And what we want in our company is to transfer these functionalities that the lignin has in nature into the product. And for instance, in the case of the UV blocking capacity, we have already proven with one of our customers that lignin can replace, for example, harmful and toxic UV blockers, and show also increase in the SPF boosting effect. In this case, you're not only, or you have the potential to reduce the CO2 emission in the whole value chain of the product, but also replacing these harmful components. What we're doing, and we're very happy at the moment, we're doing together with our customers, so decreasing, replacing these ingredients. We're also replacing key functionalities that other oil-based materials can have. We're working also very hard in optimizing or decreasing the CO2 emissions in the value chain of the customers. And also for us, the care products or the cosmetic products are a niche market, but we're working together with the biorefineries in different parts of the world so that they can license our technology and valorize these millions of tons of lignins that they are producing in other applications. For example, plastics or construction materials, or even a vegan leather. And we know that if we want to generate impact, we want to, or we have to collaborate with the big ones. Of course, I'm not alone. So this is the core team. I'm actually very proud to tell that in a current team of 6 people, we're now 5 women engineers. In the team, thanks to the efforts that we have been doing in the past 2 years, almost 2 years. So we have obtained our first seed investment. It was closed in December 2020, and we obtained 2.2 million euros. And with this, we are scaling up our technology, doing the proof of concept, for example, with beta testers. We're obtaining regulations that we need for our facilities and for the product. And we're starting the commercialization of our material for the care sector by the end of the year. Of course, as I mentioned, in order to generate impact, we need to scale up, and we want to, so basically collaborate with the industry for those applications that actually are harming the environment the most. And this is what we're planning to do in 2023, 2025. Yeah, thank you very much. And if you have any questions, I think we will come to that. I'll put my my contact details also in the chat in case you want to reach out or you have some opportunities for collaboration.
Okay, thank you very much, Joanna. I think it was a very interesting and a very different take on what one can do to move sustainability topics forward. And we will have a look at a third take now with Cohen. Cohen is the founder of Kayu Package, and he was born in Taipei in 1983, moved to Jakarta at the age of 3 with the family business in wood products, plywood, and wood materials trading. And from there, moved to Tokyo and started his career. And when he founded Kayu Package a few years ago, he is following a life mission to reduce plastic waste by replacing it with natural materials. And he takes a lot of experience from his family business in wood products. And I would like to hand it over to Cohen to tell us what Kayu Package is about.
So thank you for the introduction, and thank you to Johannes and Mariko from Japamburg for inviting me. Honored to be in this, to give it this opportunity to speak, and absolutely interesting talks from the other members in the speaker list today. I also want to congratulate Joanna on her seed investment last year. Great job. I think, like you mentioned, biopolymers is definitely a hot topic these days in terms of replacing all the fossil fuel-based polymers that we use today. Let me just share my screen and start with something I found that was kind of interesting. I want to thank actually Helen earlier when she pointed out 9.4 million tons of plastic waste a year in Japan. And this is actually a government report in 2013 that actually that shows that 9.4 million of plastic waste that's generated in Japan a year. I think when we approach the topic of plastic waste, the scale of the problem is rather huge in terms of the solutions that we have today. So it takes multiple solutions to solve the problem as a whole. It's good to put things in perspective. Just a quick introduction of myself. Johannes has briefly gone through that, but I also found it interesting that Noriko mentioned that just from finance background as well, is that I also, my earlier life, professional life also started out in finance. Myself, I'm Taiwanese by birth, but I grew up in Indonesia and Japan when I was younger. And I started my professional life as working for a French bank in Japan. So, who knows, maybe Noriko-san also worked in a similar industry as well. And around 5 years ago, I started Kaya Package, on multiple reasons, but one of the important missions that we had was to fix problems that we see that what skills or resources we have. And so what we do in Kaya Package is we try to address a very specific problem in the grand scheme of problems that we have. And the problem that we try to address is plastic waste, which is a huge problem to tackle in the first place, the plastic waste in the food industry. And when we say that, we say we're targeting specifically, in Japan, we have the bento boxes, which we see everywhere. Helena actually shared a nice picture of supermarket trays as well. That's also made out of styrofoam. That's a really prevalent plastic waste that we see. So, but what we do is we're trying to replace bento boxes in Japan. To solve this problem, we have multiple ways of approaching this. For example, maybe alternatives in biopolymer, for example, plant-based polymers like PLA, polylactic acid, corn-based, sugarcane-based polymers are multiple solutions of that. But what we're trying to do is we're not trying to make a new technology. We're taking something that is existing, super non-sexy, but available. Sometimes the best solutions are already existing, and we try to find a way to fit that into problems that we have today. And so what we have is in Kaya Package is we make bento boxes, and very simple products. There's no high tech 2.0 machine learning or AI involved. It's a very old technology. It's a very old existing product that is prevalent in Japan. So I think this is an interesting topic that we have here because this is a event between Japan and Germany and Hamburg. Bento as a product or as a tool function of taking meals around existed in Japan pre the invention of plastics. It's been everywhere. And people used to take bento food around in multiple ways. And what we do, and they used to be carried around in bento boxes made out of wood. So what we do is we make bento boxes out of wood, and we try to promote these and replace existing plastic ones with wood. So we don't have a lot of time to go through everything. So I'm just gonna quickly go through what we do as a company. We make these wooden bento boxes. We make them in Indonesia, where I grew up during my childhood, and we make these products into finished products, through optimizing efficiency so that they are price competitive with plastics and become a viable choice versus plastics, and we promote them to our customers in Japan. These are some examples of what our customers would use them for. So we are a B2B business. We try to address the problem by approaching the business side of things upstream. Obviously, as we all know in this group, is that it takes a village, not just individuals. So consumers as well, businesses as well, have to make the right choices to reduce our plastic consumption. So that's a quick explanation of what we do here. I have tons of questions for other people, other speakers in this chat room as well. So I'd love to talk with other people as well later. So thank you for having me.
Great, thank you so much. It's super inspiring to hear what you're doing and what you started, and also I like that you're actually tackling with your startups, in my humble opinion, the most important subject of our generation, because if we do want to live on our planet and maybe put some children into the world, then we should be really, really scared of what's going to happen to them. And I also, being a female founder myself, I also love to see so much female power today as well. That's really nice. Of course, I'm very happy for all the gentlemen I see as well. So I would like to ask you a few questions, but please feel free to discuss amongst each other as well. So we'll just be a little moderated discussion. Maybe I start with Helen, Noriko, and Joanna, because I really like this. I really am always so happy when I see successful female founders. And I guess also in Japan, it's a little bit different. I think what we see in Germany, there's a lot of fempreneur support. There is, I don't know, some competitions for female founders. There's a lot of support. So really, like, the startup environment's eyes are based on female founders, because I think also demographic wise, we have to rely on more female power within our workforces. So I wonder how Joanna feels about it. And also I wonder how Helen and Noriko, or Ellen, sorry, you're French. I want to say Helene, like a German name, but Ellen and Noriko will feel about it, because I guess in Japan, having like a female workforce, integrating maybe motherhood into your work, or being a female founder himself, talking to maybe investors who are mainly male, I wonder if it's a little bit difficult, and if you see any sort of involvement. Is there like a community about it? Please feel free to answer any of these little questions that I threw at you.
Yeah, maybe I'll start because I get this question very often regarding like women entrepreneurship. And I mean, of course, I mean, I had this idea of having a company because it was the obvious things to do. You have a residue that nobody's utilizing but can replace plastic. Okay, what is missing there, right? And then I started looking for a team. And I was looking for the abilities. I was never looking, okay, I have to have only women in my team, but I was really looking for the abilities. And I think regarding to like from the investor's point of view, they also care about how much have we reached, what are the products that we have, what is the level of maturity of the technology. And we never had like real, for example, like conversations about like whether, because we're female or not, we're going to have some issues. Like my co-founder, Binka Reynolds, she has 3 kids, and she was in the maternity leave during the first year of the company, basically. So, I mean, I think it's about the skills, and at least in the technology or the technological entrepreneurship, I don't see that there is really a difference between male and female, because it is important the know-how. It is important what you're doing, but it might be different in other sectors.
Yeah. I agree. I feel like this should be the main focus, but it's somehow perceived differently. So I wonder, maybe Noriko and Ellen, what are your experiences? Do you find it more difficult being female founders? Maybe also being foreign educated or even gaijin founders? Do you have any suggestions for this?
I think I can speak for myself, and then it would be great to hear what Noriko has to say, because she's in a different situation. So as a foreigner, I think in Japan, I think the language can be a barrier to access some communities. But other than that, for now, at least as a woman, I didn't feel any discrimination or anything like that. And I agree with you, actually, Joanna. They look at the passion of the founders. And actually, I feel in Japan, maybe things are changing a little bit as well for women, working women and women entrepreneurs. And I know like there's a community, for example, in Tokyo, Tokyo Women in VC. There's also Startup Lady Japan. So there's more and more of these communities which are trying to promote entrepreneurship amongst women. So I think it's a great place to be at the moment.
Yeah, great. That sounds really nice. Now, Cohen, also plastic. I mean, the reduction of plastic, I think, is a very heartfelt subject to all environmentalists. Germany is quite advanced in garbage separation and the avoidance of plastic. They even charge for plastic bags at the supermarket. So I always get my my cotton bag with me. I never buy plastic bags. They even charge, I mean, there's lots of products. I always look at the latest sustainable startups, and there's a lot of products coming up with biodegradable and edible plates and forks and knives and so on. Even on festivals, I sometimes organize festivals with thousands of people, and then we have to charge them garbage charges. So for them, it's totally normal to not come with their plastic bento boxes. So do you feel like, and each time I go to Japan, I'm always surprised that there's still so much wrapping. So you can like get one little tiny cherry tomato in a plastic wrapping. I guess it's changing, but do you like, you know, what do you think Japan has to learn or change, and maybe what are the latest developments that you see on site?
So thank you for the question. I think you mentioned a good point on this problem is what we call cost externalization. So the problem with plastic waste is the fact that we haven't priced in what it costs to dispose of the plastics after we use them. And I think these issues are already being addressed quite often these days, and that it would fix the problem, although not fast enough. The problem that we're trying to address is very directed to the food packaging industry, and I think that you know, during COVID, which we're all in right now, I think this has impacted the food and beverage industry more so than other industries involved. And so I think it's quite a sensitive topic at the moment, but the reality is, you know, our lives or our children's lives are a lot longer than whatever we're facing today. So we have to think about not just the problem we face today, but the problems we face 10 or 20 years later. So, you know, we don't expect to have a solution today, but, you know, so, you know, reusing our things, you know, not wasting them is going to be the most important thing we have to do. But just going back on a number that, you know, Helene shared previously, is Japan as a country already produces 9.4 million tons of plastic waste every year. Our business in Japan last year was able to reduce about 10 tons of plastics by through our customers, you know, who are not using disposable plastics. But we only managed through one full year of business last year, we only did 10 tons out of 9.4 million tons every year. So the scale, factoring the scale of our solution needs to multiply by factors of hundreds or thousands. It's not going to fix the problem just by doing 10, 10, 10, 20, 20, 20. So in this case, you know, it'll take more than what we're doing. It'll take what, you know, whatever Joanna's doing with Pure. It'll take whatever Helene and Noriko's doing with Eco Local. It takes every solution to try to get to the point of reducing that astronomical number of like just one country is 9.4 million. But that being said, you know, I think consumer minds, or I'm quite positive that consumer minds are quite, you know, everybody's quite aware of the problem. Everybody's trying to find a solution. We just have to provide that solution to the people. You know, whether that is price efficient, convenience. People don't want to go out of their way to find a good solution. You know, that's human nature, unfortunately. I also want to mention that you know, we're a business in Japan. We actually launched our business in the US last year, and you know, and we're looking into Europe next year. So I think, and since we're physical goods, as you mentioned, Hamburg is obviously one of the main stops in terms of port destinations through Asia. So hopefully, perhaps we might meet in Hamburg one day.
Please, yeah. It's also the food and beverage hub, so I guess your products will be used well here.
Hopefully.
Great. So maybe towards Noriko, I saw that you had this sheet of local ambassadors, and they look very international. So do you think there is a gap of perception of the environment and sustainability between maybe Japanese who are not exposed to international education, or, you know, are really used to seeing these miso shops, seeing these, you know, department store floors full of food where everything goes into plastic bags and so on? Do you see there's a perception? Is there, or if maybe not even? I think in some perspective, Japan is very much based on local food and fruit, so they don't really import so much like we do. We need to have mango from Australia all over the year. So I think this is one plus point for Japanese. But what do you feel like are the differences, and maybe what can the countries learn from each other?
Yeah, you raise a good point. I think it's easy to jump to conclusions that Japan is behind in sustainability, and you hear this a lot. And I think for the most part, I do agree. But at the same time, I think, I don't know if I'm just becoming defensive because I myself am Japanese, but I do kind of like to.
I'm really defensive for Japan as well.
Yeah, but like I think it's not as simple as we're just behind. So I think it's two things. One is sort of education, and then the lack of kind of the tools for people who don't really read English to be able to get stuff themselves. I mean, there's the internet, but if you don't really read or not versed well in English, then you don't have the means of getting like the information out there. You know, and a lot of UN reports are in English, not in Japanese, and things like that. So I think it's just that's one factor. The second factor is, I think, partly because of the education and sort of the lack of access to the latest information, but partly because culturally we've been at harmony with nature, sort of as a culture. 90% of our land is still forest, or 80% of our land is still forest in Japan. And, you know, something that says eco something resonates with a lot of us. Whether that's good, whether that's greenwashing, put that aside. But like, I think the idea of being nice to your surroundings and nature is something that for Japanese people, it resonates with. I just think that the problem lies in sort of the gap. There's a gap of people actually knowing exactly how you do that. Today in this world where, you know, we're producing 9.4 million tons of plastic a year, which not everybody knows. So I think it's just the gap. It's not that we are behind in you know, our willingness to be friendlier. Yeah,
I mean, to all of you as well, feel free to discuss amongst each other, right? I'm just steering the questions, but I was thinking, you know, I also see that there's a lot of engagement in the chat. Please stay for discussion afterwards with all our speakers as well. So I think it's really like a subject that is very much emotional for everyone, because it affects us very much, right? We want to breathe, we want our children to be healthy and so on. But I wonder if do you think it would be a solution if the government would be more involved in it? Like, you know, in Germany, I don't mind getting a plastic bag if it's for free, but I do mind paying 20 cents for it. So I'm going to take my own bag with me. I have these cotton bags, and you get them everywhere for free. They are marketed from whatever, or you can even buy at the big supermarkets, you buy those cotton bags for €1, and then you just take it with you all the time, which reduces plastic massively. So actually none of these plastic bags are sold much in Germany anymore. And then there's package-free supermarkets growing, and the more people use it, the less expensive it is. Of course, it's more expensive to get these at the beginning, but I guess the governmental intervention actually helps people to make good choices. Is this something that is developing in the Japanese, let's say, open discussion, or is this something that you even considered could be a solution?
I think governments do help. One example is the recent, not recent anymore, but as of last July in Japan, plastic bags in supermarkets and convenience stores, i.e. putting your food in, that has become charged. So it used to be free, and now you have to pay 2 to 5 yen depending on where you get the stuff. And that I think has massively helped. Like visually, I can see many people walking around with eco bags. And then I think recently, March, Japan at least passed the legislation that they will, it's kind of like a step zero, but they passed the legislation and agreement which is around single-use plastic, and it doesn't say exactly what they will implement yet, but it looks like they are going to reconsider all of that around single-use plastic, maybe even banning it, or maybe it's a fine or a limit to how much you can have. But and I think that has kind of really spurred a lot of companies, especially large companies, into, it's sort of a frenzy because they don't know what to do, and they're like, oh my gosh, we're gonna have to do something. But I think that level of change can only happen if the government says let's change.
Yeah, but I think, like, for instance, I think it's also governmental education for the people, because someone wrote, people are convenient and egoistic. So of course, if they get it for free, if it's, you know, convenient, then they take it. But for instance, in Germany, there's no plastic straws anymore. When I see them, and even I hear other people's like, do you have plastic straws? And they're frowned upon, so they go to another shop. So I really like this sort of development as well. Maybe for Joanna, who is also Hamburg based. I saw in one of your.
I wanted to give a comment on your previous question. Sorry for interrupting. Because
yeah, please.
I think the government definitely plays a role. I mean, as Noriko was saying, because of, for instance, banning, but there is also like tax incentives that they can give to the companies. We get this a lot with the industry here in Germany. Like, of course, they will like this transition to more sustainable materials, to more bio-based, but now, I mean, they're being, let's say, forced to have sustainability goals, to have like clear targets on reduction of plastic, on reduction of CO2. And this is why they're coming for these alternatives, or for these more sustainable alternatives. On the other hand, I feel like now the companies are turning, and this is a very good thing, turning sustainability into value proposition, or into like a marketing strategy. They're also getting to more customers when they have better products, when they have less CO2 reductions, and they are relying a lot on that. So I think there is a combination of factors, but definitely the government is playing a role. And for sure, also, if you have like physical products or also services, I mean, my recommendation will be to already present to your clients or to these companies like a marketing package, you know? I mean, it's not only that it's good, the product, is like you could tackle this population or these consumers, and then have also more benefits, which at the end will be in more probably resources for sustainability in their companies.
Yeah.
Let me actually add a little bit on that, if you don't mind. Mariko-san mentioned, public opinion, education. That's absolutely important, because in the end of the day, we live in a democracy. Public opinion matters. But more than that, what roles do government play? I think, like Noriko-san mentioned earlier, is that recently in Japan, there's a law that's been passed, which is very similar to what we call the extended producer responsibility, which is ERP. And there are the different versions of that, in Europe, there are versions of that in the US, but essentially it tries to address what responsibilities producers have for the goods they produce. The law that's been passed in Japan recently, I think in March, was it didn't have very concrete penalties or on addressing what happens if you don't, you're not transparent, you don't follow the rules, but it's the first step, at least in legislation, for what governments can do. So I think in that perspective, the government is trying to move in the right direction in terms of ERP. But that being said, in Japan, one of the big reasons of why Japan is also accelerating their plastic waste problem is because, like someone mentioned in the chat, it's all about economics. A lot of these countries have been exporting, developed countries have been exporting their plastic waste to developing countries in the past. And I think many people in this group chat would know, is China stopped accepting plastic waste. I don't know, about a year or two ago. So the cost of disposing this plastic waste is heavily burdening local governments and the government itself in terms of government budget. So they have to find a solution. They're being forced to find a solution on how to deal with the waste that's burdening their government budget. So in that sense, governments will be playing a more active role and have to play an active role, whether that's by tax incentives or, I'm sure like LignoPure to be price competitive with, plastics are just fossil fuel based polymers is just way too cheap. So, and because they don't include the cost that's externalized out of the system.
Yeah. I mean, Joanna and also Cohen, thanks for this comment. And Joanna, you said, well, support is needed, right? And also like tech support maybe. I saw this long last slide and you had all these little partners and icons. So speaking of support and also your great investments that you got, congratulations, that's awesome. I wonder how you tackle this. What is the most important to basically widen your network and get partner support? And maybe you can give us a little insight to the more entrepreneurial approach of yours.
Yeah, so yeah, this is very interesting. We actually started, so thank you for the question. We started at the end of 2019 and we put ourselves, I will say, in the middle of the hurricane. We were going to every networking event, to be honest. We got a lot of potential clients just because we were present there. This is why we were able to advance, to have clients, to have prototypes. So this is something that I will definitely recommend to everybody. And then the investors that we have now, they were approaching us. So I think it's a little bit like another position to be when startups are actively looking for investors. It was the opposite for us. And it was just because we were so much present. We could advance in the development of the product so much. But regarding investment, for us, it was pure business case. So if there are some investors here, I think Germany is advancing quite well in terms of investors that are focusing on sustainability. And I think this is like the way to go. It should be you invest in a company that is working on a bio-based product or in a sustainable material or sustainable, I don't know, app. You're having an impact. So you also have to measure impact in the startups. And I told you, we have a really great team of investors at the moment, but we have no single deliverable or milestone that is regarding to sustainability, that is regarding to like what is the impact that we have in the environment. So this is, I think, on us. For the entrepreneur side, it is on us to follow up on the impact without forgetting the business side. This is really important. At the end, we want to change something. We want to, we want to have impact. Sorry for repeating the word so much, but it is. We need to have a business for that. We need to come to a position in which we're able to do this. What we plan. But it would be really great, to be honest, if also the startups or the investors have milestones for the companies that are on impact on the environment, which is I think is not really the case. I don't know how it's in Japan. I think here in Germany in the past 6 months there is a push in this direction.
Yeah. Yeah, because they are part of the governmental plan, right? That they're forced to keep to. So there's much more focus, which helps. I wonder maybe to all of you, your personal comment on maybe advices for other green startup or, social entrepreneurs for startup with a sustainability focus. What is your main advice? And maybe any sort of obstacles that you faced that you could tell people about so they might be able to avoid them? Maybe I ask Cohen first, gentleman first.
Thank you. Actually, you know what? I'll literally repeat what Joanna-san said. I think I think what people often forget when they start something is, I mean, there's a difference between NPOs, charities, and businesses. And the reality is the system that we live in the modern world is an economic system. And the solutions that we want to provide, yes, it's very important to be socially impactful, to be better for the environment. But first and foremost, when we say sustainability, that it has to be sustainable as a business. And like what Joanna mentioned is that as entrepreneurs or business owners that want to make an impact, it's almost like a selfish goal. I want to fix this environmental problem because it's my goal. But first and foremost, it has to be a legitimate business with a value proposition that works economically. If you have a great idea, but it runs out of runs out of cash in a year, you're not going to make any impact. So I think a repeat of this is that be smart about it and be realistic about it. Make an impact that is also business realistic. So that's to all these people watching out there, you can do it.
That's so true. I mean, you can have the greatest idea, but you have to be a good businessman, right? And you have to know your KPIs and figures. So I guess Noriko and Cohen are a little bit advantaged as they can handle numbers really well. Yeah, what do Noriko and Ellen have to say, the Ecolocal team?
I think I actually want to maybe not contradict, but I guess add on is even if something doesn't make commercial sense on the surface of it, don't give up is kind of what I would say, because I think Ellen and I have seen surprises in the past where we tried different things, and then the thing that stuck, and that people saw value in and wanted to see more of, I don't think either of us had foreseen at the time. So I think, yes, things have got to make commercial sense and you've got to sustain yourself as a business, but at the same time, like, try everything and just believe yourself and keep on going is kind of what I would add to that.
Okay, you can never give up, right? Yeah.
One thing I would say to complement what Noriko said is, and I guess that's what is driving us as social entrepreneurs, is our values and what we care about. And, with the people you surround yourself in terms of the business, always go back to your values and what you believe in. When you have to make a decision to associate yourself with a partner, with a fund or something like that, that would be maybe my thought.
Great. Joanna, what do you think?
Yeah, I think, again, like my advice to sustainable entrepreneurs, let's say it like this, is really, again, don't forget the business side of your business. And this is really my recommendation, because we're dreamers, right? We want to solve problems, and this is absolutely incredible. And this is really nice. But then we tend to forget what we need to get there. And this is especially happening to companies that are working on sustainability.
Yeah, I mean, I'm even having some goosebumps because I'm really inspired by all of you. And I really want to thank you that you're hardworking, that you believe in your products, that you believe in your ideas and values, that you stay true to yourself, and that you presented this all to us today. It was very inspiring. As you can read later in the chat, people were discussing a lot. There was even someone applying to you. So if you need workforce, if you need people to come on board into your team, I think they liked your presentations very much. Me too. Johannes and me, we're really, really happy to get to know you. Really thankful that you were here with us and open for the discussions as well. And I think we are swapping now. It's almost 11 in Germany, so 7 hours later in Japan. I hope that you're not starving and you had your little eco lunchbox before. But we are swapping. So people, everyone, you were discussing so much, feel free to discuss with our speakers now and ask them questions. Here was some discussion, which country is nicer, Germany or Japan? I think this is not the question. It's nice that we can be so cosmopolitan and talk to each other and maybe tackle this idea, which is really affecting our world and not just one country. So I think there is another platform that we are using, and there was going to be a link to this, so we don't lose any of our visitors. Johannes, or was it Lisa who would?
Lisa is going to introduce it in a second.
Ah, okay, she's coming. There she is. So please join the virtual networking space so we can continue this nice discussion. And please also, before we do that, before we lose everyone, Johannes and me, we're really happy to connect with you. Please follow us on our LinkedIn, our meetup. Let's get in touch also with our personal LinkedIn. I'm really, really happy to connect with all of you. Also the audience that I couldn't see directly, who I couldn't talk to directly, because I won't be joining the discussion for long, as I have a full-time job that I just started as well. But I'm very, very happy that everyone was here and we're so engaged with the questions. Someone is going to have Lamen now. Johannes put the LinkedIn profile. I'm going to send this link again for everyone. So you know where to go, so we don't lose you in the limbo as well. And hold on. Just one last link, because I'm really gone. So if anyone is interested to connect, I am very interested. All right, let's make the transition to the link. You've seen it, the Gather Town, and see you on the other side. Thank you very much.